I now want to bring into the conversation Lisa Gilbert. She's the co-president of Public Citizen. Lisa, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, there's a lot to get into as we've seen some of these live images coming into our newsroom since decently early this morning at around 9 or 10 a.m. Eastern time. Again, more than 3,000 planned protests have been happening across the nation today. I first, though, want to ask you about the phrase "No Kings." That has been what's been seen on shirts. We've seen it on banners. We've seen it on signs. What does that phrase ultimately mean to you and your organization?
It's such a great question. The slogan is the meaning that we are out there today. The reason that we've gathered together is because we've seen an aggressive authoritarian slip under Donald Trump for our nation. We've seen abuses of power. We've seen masked agents being sent into our communities and now our airports. We've seen attempts to overtake our elections, trying to make voting more difficult and rigging electoral maps. And we've just seen authoritarian choices like spending billions of our tax dollars on missile strikes for an illegal, unauthorized war. All of these decisions and undemocratic steps that the administration has been taking, this abuse of power, this lawlessness, it's why so many people are moved to stand together in solidarity with this very simple message. We have a democracy. We do not have a monarchy here. And so this abuse of power, this unilateral action, it's just not acceptable from our president. It's not okay. We don't have a king.
And it is important to note that we've been seeing some of these protests happening across the country, but while it's not one organization that's fully running everything, it's a coordinated effort. Can you sort of talk to me about what that looks like behind the scenes to get this to happen on one day across all of the major states in our country?
Absolutely. Well, I should say it is a large number of organizations that are helping to pull together what is a true organic energy. We are meeting people where they are. Organizations like mine, Public Citizen, others you may have heard of, your listeners may have heard of, like Indivisible or Move On or ACLU. We're telling our members, and in turn, they are informing others where to gather and helping to train people to be sure that folks are ready to keep these as peaceful and nonviolent and focused on the mission and rhetoric of no king as they can be. All of that, does take behind the scenes muscle, but truly it is galvanizing a spirit that's already there. People are so outraged, and there's a reason why this is going to be the single largest day of protest in American history, why there are more protests planned than there are counties in our nation. It's not a fringe movement. It is truly a majority of our country right now.
And when you talk about the fact, you said it's not a fringe movement. Who would you say ultimately that this message that's going out there today is for? Who's the target audience?
I mean, the target audience is twofold. I think first, it's important that the administration see that this is people from everywhere. 2/3 of our RSVPs are coming from outside of urban centers. This isn't just a major city mobilization. It's not just, so-called progressives. It is everyone. It's disaffected MAGA. It's independents. It's Democrats. It's not partisan. It's about democracy with a small d. And so making sure the administration hears that, that's a big part of this. I think the second audience, honestly, is all of us. It's important to be in solidarity. The administration wants us quiet and silenced. They don't want dissent. And so fighting that fear gap, having people go to their very first protest and stand together and feel empowered and emboldened. The audience is all of us. It's each other. It's standing together in love and saying no kings.
I have to ask you, because we've also been getting word that there are protests of a similar vein happening in Europe and other places around the world. What does it mean to you as you talk about your connection to the one here in the United States, but as you're watching this spread not only here, but in other parts of the world?
Yeah, it's a great question. I believe we are on 6 continents, everywhere but Antarctica. So the penguins need to get it in gear. But, it's pretty impressive that this movement is being felt globally. And I think it speaks to the need to push back on this kind of authoritarianism everywhere. Donald Trump is this very visible symbol of a problem that has happened elsewhere. Other countries have fought successfully for their democracies or are fighting for them right now. And I think people really resonate with how important it is is to have the sort of shining beacon of democracy that America has always been perceived as remain as such, and just make clear again, we do not have a king in our country.
And Lisa, we do know that, again, at some point today, all of the protests across the country, all of the coming together will come to an end. But ultimately, as you're walking away from this, what does success look like to you for you and your movement? What other next steps are also going to be in play as we're looking ahead?
It's a great question. And I think it's worth noting that this No Kings event is the third of its kind. It's situated within an arc of ever increasing momentum and more people turning out. The first one back in June had 5 million people. The one in the fall had 7 million people. And again, we're expecting more today. So I think a piece of what we're looking forward to is just ever increasing concentric circles of people engaging and activating and feeling comfortable saying no to this administration. But beyond that, those who have already said no, who have already joined us, there are next steps and things to do. So we are going to be calling for all of the hosts of No Kings events to hold next steps meetings in which they will bring their neighbors together, bring their communities together, and talk about trainings that we can do to defend our neighbors when encountering ICE agents, to talk about ways to push Congress and to encourage them to fight harder against the administration, and also to think about defending our elections. We need to make sure that the 2026 election happens without sabotage. So these are some of the things we'll be talking to folks about who attend the No Kings protests when they come to a Next Steps meeting.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate Lisa Gilbert, the co-president of Public Citizen, for joining us here on Live Now from Fox today. Again, one of the parts of this very wide, nationwide and international movement No Kings calling for across the country. Thanks so much for your time, Lisa.
Thank you.